Hi everyone. In today's video, we're going to talk about how we can evaluate expressions when we're given a table. This was something that a lot of people still had issues with on the quiz, so I want to make sure we address it so we're all set when it comes time to test. So the first thing I want to review quickly is this idea of function notation. So remember, function notation would look like this. So for example, I'm going to write an equation that says f of n equals 4n minus 6. Now, I could have used any variables I want, but in general, the notation looks like this, right? I could have called it g of x equals 4x minus 6. So the variable doesn't matter, but the notation looks like this. And here's the big idea. What's in parentheses here is always our input. And I can see my input over here on the right side as well. My variable f is the output, so this whole chunk is an output. So it tells me the value of my function f when my input is n. So it's just some new notation that we're using, and we need to be able to work with this notation to do these problems with the table. So let's talk about that idea of input and output. When we're writing a table, our input is here. So you can see there's that variable n again for my input. And this column tells us the output. Oh, let me scoot that over so you can see that. So again, n is our input, f of n is our output. And we have a table of values. It tells us for these inputs of n, what their associated output would be. And we have to use that table to answer some questions. So let's take a look. So my first question says, what is f of 6? Now notice in this case, they're telling me what the input is. The input is always inside the parentheses, so they're telling me that my input is 6. So really what this question is asking is, what is the output when the input is 6? So they gave us an input value, which means they want the output when the input is 6. So I go into my table that gives the inputs, and I'm going to find 6. Now, once I've found 6, I can look, and the output value for that is 18. So the answer for number 1, we would say f of 6 equals 18. When the input is 6, my output is 18. Okay, for number 3, it's a very similar question again. Let's maybe do this one in a different color. So 3 here is going to be my input. So again, the question is, what is the output when the input is 3? Because that's what I've been given is the input. So now we go to the table and say, well, when our input is 3, the associated output value is 6. So we can say f of 3 equals 6. So then it's very clear that our input was 3, our output value was 6. Now, you don't have to write this question every time. I'm just writing that so we get an idea of what the question is really asking for, so we can be very clear about that. All right, now if we look at number 3, this one's a little bit different. So now it says when f of n equals -2, what is the value of n? So in this case, we said this represented the output. In this case, I'm not given an input, I'm told what the output is equal to. So in this case, the question's a little different. This is asking, let's do this. It's asking what is the input, right? They're asking for the value of n, n, which we said was our input. So the question is, what is the input when the output is -2? So now I have to look at the table a little differently. I know that my output now, my f of n, is -2, so I'm going to start there. And now I'm looking for the n value, the input that goes with, and I would say now n equals 1. So again, the question being asked was a little different. In this case, they gave us the output, so that's why I looked for f of n, or I looked for -2 in my f of n row, and then looked up to find the n. All right, next question. Now it says when f of n equals 10, what is the value of n? So again, I've been given an output, and they want me to find the input. So what I need to think is, where is my output 10? I'm going to look in the f of n row and find 10. And then to find the value of n, I'm going to find that associated n, and that would be 4. Okay, now parts B and C still go with question 4. So now we found out that when f of n is 10, the value of n was 4. Now they want to know, what is the value of f of n minus 1? Well, I just found out that my n was 4. So f of 4 minus 1 is f of 3. Now I'm being asked a question. Actually, it's the same as number 2. F of 3, they're telling me the input is 3. To find the function value, I look down and I would say f of 3 equals 6. And lastly, part C. Now they want f of n plus 2. Well, again, my n was 4, so f of 4 plus 2 is just f of 6. And that's just like question 1. To find f of 6, I find where my input is 6, and the associated output is equal to 18. So hopefully that clears things up a little for you. What I would like you to do now is turn the paper over and complete that practice, and then you can check it in with me and we can address any questions that you may still have. Thanks for watching.